Most of us will do anything that we can to not be bored. The idea of having nothing to do but be alone with our thoughts literally seems like absolute misery. So we either scroll social media, binge Netflix, find something exciting to buy, literally anything that can give that instant sense of relief and excitement. Just so you know, you're not alone. I've been there. We've all been there. But if you continuously avoid boredom at all costs, there are consequences.
Thing is, you overstimulate your brain, which can cause overwhelm. So you're constantly consuming things, you're constantly putting things into your system, and you're not allowing yourself to slow down. And I feel like when that happens, a lot of times when you're dealing with any depressive thoughts or feeling anxious, it's really hard to stop those thoughts from coming because you're constantly getting other inputs, getting in the way. Even just knowing that our body has literal biological and physiological triggers like sleep. We have to sleep for 8 hours a day. Some sleep for less, but the fact that our brains need to shut off and reset for that long, for a third of a day, it's just a realization that even throughout the day, we weren't meant to constantly be stimulated. Our brains need a break, our minds need a break. And so when we're not allowing ourselves to have those moments, it can be so hard for us to think logically, think sanely. And just the fact that we're constantly avoiding boredom at all costs, it just shows you that our mental health will likely suffer. And with all these points, I want to at least give some type of solution, some way that you can try to overcome this. When you get that urge and you're feeling bored, time a 15-minute boredom session. The whole point is to allow yourself to build that habit of being able to be bored just for a little small amount of time. The one thing you don't want to do is cut everything out and shock your body and say, I'm never going to do any type of stimulation, no Netflix, no social media, no nothing, because that's not realistic. You want to be able to take those small moments and say, okay, maybe I can try a 15-minute boredom session. Allow yourself to be there, be bored. Have thoughts go through your head. And maybe you just need to even do just 5 minutes or even 2 minutes. The whole point is just building that habit in the beginning, allowing yourself to be bored. I remember when I first started doing this, the first time was really hard for me to stop from fidgeting and wanting to do something else, to break free from it. But 15 minutes didn't seem so long. It didn't seem too bad. It was like something that I was willing to fight through because I knew on the other side of it, I was gonna see the benefit. I was gonna see the benefit of feeling a little bit more in control of myself, feeling a little bit more in control of me constantly needing some type of entertainment, some fix. So try this out. Just get into the habit of stopping and allowing for boredom. Another problem that I feel like is a consequence of not allowing yourself to be bored is you lose the ability to be creative. A lot of times I find that whenever I never have a chance to slow down or I never have any good ideas come to my head, is because I haven't slowed down at all. I haven't stopped, whether that is, being busy with life, being busy with work, with the kids, with constantly going, or consuming. You don't have a chance, or I didn't have a chance to just allow for creativity to spark. When I used to songwrite, I would have to be in a quiet place for a little while because I needed stuff to just kind of come to. You need things to bubble to the surface. And when you have other inputs constantly basically blocking that from getting to your mind, then it's really difficult to get into that creative space. And if you're creative, you probably can relate to this somehow. And then when it comes to problem solving, that's another thing. Coming up with really good problem solving ideas is hard when you're constantly having things go through your head. Sometimes you just need the space to stop, think, reflect, and look at whatever it is that you're facing, whether that's your home, that you want to declutter your home, or your marriage, or something that you want to figure out in your business, or whatever it is that you're trying to fix. You'll be able to be more creative and brainstorm ideas that might not work, but at least it's an idea. And sometimes even having just ideas come to surface is a good feeling, because I know when I just can't think of anything, it's so frustrating. And a lot of times that's due to not allowing myself to have the space to be bored, allow the space to just think and be alone with my thoughts. So when you're getting the urge, when you're bored, maybe even just give yourself the opportunity to be bored, to be creative. Say, maybe for 10 minutes today, I'm gonna allow myself to be bored right now so that I can just maybe come up with something creative. Maybe you're an artist and you are feeling frustrated in the back of your mind that you haven't done anything, you haven't drawn anything, or if you're a musician, you haven't created anything. And when you get that urge to not be bored, give yourself the chance to be creative. And I've seen this in my life when I've tried to do this a little bit more, is that I come up with so many more ideas and I get into that flow state. Getting into that flow state is everything that you really want. Ideas are constantly just flowing to your head. You're not blocking them. You're not, shutting them down. You're just like letting them come. And it's an amazing feeling. So giving yourself that opportunity to get into that flow state, get into that creative mode, get into that problem solving state is such a good thing. And so if you don't allow yourself to be bored, it's really hard to get into that state. I think the biggest consequence to not allowing ourselves to be bored is developing an addiction to constantly being entertained, to constantly needing that dopamine fix. So whether that is social media, constantly scrolling social media, whether that is binging Netflix all the time, whether that is an actual substance abuse addiction, or even food addiction. A lot of times, a lot of us like to eat when we're bored. When we're bored, we're like, man, I really want a snack. I really like to eat this and watch this show. I really like to eat or drink this and just feel not bored. And I've definitely seen this in seasons of my life where I either binge a ton of Netflix or I overeat a little bit because I'm trying to be entertained. I don't like to be home alone. Or, Carlene and I will sometimes eat just for fun. And we're like, we're not even hungry. You start to realize that you develop a lot of these addictive patterns or just desires for dopamine, some hit, some relief of the boredom. And what I've noticed is what you can do to counteract basically this addiction to needing something to be entertaining you constantly is when you feel that urge, do something mundane that won't give you that hit of dopamine. So take a walk or call somebody for a little bit, call someone that you've been wanting to call for a while, or even take a nap. It's unbelievable like what can happen when you just take a little quick nap. All these feelings of overwhelm, all these urges, all this stuff kind of just like subsides. I've seen this happen all the time. People underestimate the power of naps. Now, it's not always possible. Sometimes if you're working or if you have kids or whatnot, but when you have the chance to just kind of slow down, just close your eyes, relax, that is something. Taking a walk, that is something that definitely does not spike your dopamine, but it allows you to just kind of get out in nature and take a deep breath, get some fresh air, move your body. I believe studies show that when you work out or exercise, when you go to the gym, when you work out, when you do something active, it boosts your serotonin levels and it can cause you to just kind of calm down. It's not that dopamine flood of excitement and joy. It's just that like calm, peaceful, like things are good. Everything's okay. And that's the beauty of finding something mundane to do, because sometimes it's really hard to just do nothing and be bored, but it's easier to do something and be a little bit bored. So doing things that aren't super exciting, but maybe it's something that's productive, something that needs to get done and feel good about at the end. Because as much as I love Netflix, as much as I love binging things, at the end of those binge sessions, you don't always feel great. And it's not that you have to feel bad about enjoying Netflix or enjoying wine or enjoying food or even going on social media. It's when you constantly do it as an escape and you do it as a relief, then that's when I feel like we start to create these holes for ourselves that it's kind of hard to get out of. I would say this might be a tie for the last one, but if you don't allow yourself to be bored, you don't allow yourself to process your big emotions. When you are bored, all the things that are troubling you, all the things that are stressing you out, they come to your head. So you have a lot of big emotions, and some of them are not a true representation of your reality. So right now, I'm okay. I'm healthy. My kids are healthy. My wife's fine. I have a job. I have a home. But in my mind, there could be things that make me feel like my life is a mess. Everything's going wrong. It feels like chaos. And as much as my feelings are valid, the reality is that the thoughts creating those feelings aren't necessarily a true representation of what's happening around me. And so sometimes when I kind of feel like I'm getting bored or things are slowing down, my thoughts are starting to come to the surface. That's when I find myself wanting to escape. That's when I find myself wanting to watch a movie or watch a show or binge something or go on social media. And so what I've been finding extremely helpful for me to overcome this is take 2 to 3 minutes and write down everything that you're feeling. Once you kind of feel like that boredom is bubbling to the surface and you feel like you're starting to get overwhelmed by your thoughts, writing out everything that you're feeling, every emotion, every thought that you're having. It has been so easy for me to start to pinpoint what is not only stressing me out and is on a loop constantly, which is causing me to want to avoid boredom, but what is going through my head is causing me to feel like things aren't okay. The thing is, boredom is just a part of our lives. You can only avoid it so much. You can only find an escape so much, to the point eventually you're gonna have to slow down and be with your thoughts and face the reality of whatever it is that you're trying to avoid. Giving yourself the ability to learn to process your emotions, to slow down, to take a step back and see what's going through your head at almost like that 30,000 foot view. It gives you a better ability to manage what's going through your head, what's going through my mind, what is causing me to feel these feelings. And I feel like if you don't allow yourself to be bored, you can't slow down and appreciate all the things in your life. I feel the beauty of life is that it is 50% good, 50% bad. There's always gonna be good and bad in life. And I think that balance is what gives people the most fulfilling life, because when you can overcome bad, or when you can process and accept the bad things in your life, you can begin to accept the good things in your life as well, and see how those all just accumulate to your life experience. Some of my greatest lessons that I feel like I've learned throughout my life have been through the toughest seasons. And I don't think that we necessarily need to constantly go through difficult. I certainly don't want to, but I think that when those seasons come, and sometimes they're inevitable, and you just allow for them to come, it just gives you the opportunity to have the biggest life experience. The ability to say that I really lived life for what it was. I went through difficult times and I went through good times. And why boredom is such a big piece of that is because it also allows you to realize that you don't need to be entertained every second. Anybody who wants to slow down and live a more intentional life will realize that. We are in the age of technology, and that's okay. You're gonna be on social media, you're gonna watch Netflix, you're going to find ways to escape. You're going to be exposed to technology some way, somehow. But just like life is a balance, I feel like that needs to be a balance as well. You can't just have full-blown dopamine hits constantly. You have to have those moments where you pull back and slow down and feel the mundane. And that's the beauty of life. Allow for boredom, allow for your mind to wander, allow for creativity to spark. Just allow yourself to slow down a little bit. You'll really feel the abundance of what life can truly be. So I love you guys. I hope this video has inspired you somehow, and we'll see you in the next video.